Elena woke before the alarm. It was still dark, but not quite night. One of those strange gray moments when the world holds its breath. Her bedroom was quiet, except for the low hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Beside her, the empty indentation of her husband's side of the bed was still warm. He had left early, like always. She sat up and listened. No birds, no wind, just the deep, heavy silence of a world waiting for something. Padding into the hallway in her slippers, she paused outside her son's room. The door was slightly ajar. A soft rustling came from inside, pages turning. She smiled. "Alicia," she called softly. No response. She pushed the door open. Her 5-year-old sat on the floor, flipping through a picture book. He didn't look up. His small body was perfectly still except for his fingers moving slowly, mechanically. "Alicia, honey," she repeated, stepping into the room. This time he turned, but the look he gave her was off, like he was seeing her for the first time. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. Elena froze, half laughing, half chilled. "Very funny," she said. "It's Mommy." He blinked slowly, then looked back down at the book. "I don't have a mommy," he said. Elena stood in the doorway longer than she meant to. Her son's words echoed in her ears, dull and dissonant. "I don't have a mommy." She told herself it was a joke. A weird phase. A dream, maybe? She crouched beside him. "Alicia," she said gently, "look at me." He turned his head slowly, reluctantly, as if reacting to a stranger's voice. His face was so familiar. Round cheeks, dark lashes, that little scar near his eyebrow. But his eyes, they looked flat, detached, as if something behind them had dimmed. "I made oatmeal," she tried again. "Want breakfast?" He nodded once, too quickly, like a puppet. No smile, no childlike wiggle of excitement. They walked to the kitchen together. She watched the way he moved, stiff, almost rehearsed. The usual morning ritual felt muted. No cartoons, no humming, no complaints about raisins in the oatmeal. He ate in complete silence. Then, in the middle of a spoonful, he paused. "Do you live here?" he asked, eyes still on the bowl. Elena stared at him. Her hands trembled. "Of course I do. This is our home." Alicia slowly turned his gaze toward her, his expression blank. "I don't remember you being here yesterday." Her spoon clattered into sink. She hadn't said a word, but in her mind, a scream had already begun. After breakfast, Elena tried to shake the unease off like a bad dream clinging to her skin. She cleaned the kitchen, wiped the counters twice, maybe 3 times, her mind playing and replaying her son's words like a broken record. "I don't remember you being here yesterday." She checked his temperature. Normal. She scrolled parenting forums. Nothing felt helpful. Children say strange things. They test boundaries. It's just a phase. Still, her pulse stayed elevated, like her body knew something her mind refused to accept. Mid-morning light slanted across the living room as she decided to distract herself with something simple, dusting. Cleaning always made her feel more grounded, more in control. She grabbed a cloth and turned toward the bookshelf. Halfway through wiping the framed photos, she paused. The frame on the far right, her favorite, was empty. It had held a picture from last Christmas. Elena, her husband Daniel, and Alicia in matching red pajamas. She remembered the way they all laughed after the camera timer fell off the table. She knew that photo had been there yesterday. She checked the floor. Nothing. She checked the back of the frame. Blank. Pristine. She opened the family album. The Christmas page was there. Decorations, tree. Alicia tearing paper. But that photo was gone. Confused, she called Daniel. "Hey," he answered casually. "Did you move the Christmas photo from the living room?" A pause. "What photo?" "You know, the one of the 3 of us, in pajamas. You hated the picture, remember?" Another pause, longer this time. "Elena, I don't think we ever took a photo like that." Elena looked at the empty frame again, her heart a slow thud against her ribs. "But we did," she whispered. "I remember." By noon, Elena felt as though the walls of the house had subtly shifted. Everything looked the same, but felt slightly off. like she was walking through a replica of her home built by someone who had never quite lived in it. She found herself checking drawers she hadn't opened in weeks, touching objects as if needing them to confirm their reality. The house gave nothing back. No warmth, no familiarity. Just a hollow quiet. Elisha played in the living room with his toy cars, silently lining them up into a perfect row, knocking each one over with clinical precision. He hadn't asked for cartoon snacks or attention. He hadn't called her mommy again. Elisha, she said carefully, watching him. He didn't respond. Elisha, still nothing. She stepped closer, then crouched. Sweetheart, can you tell me who I am? He looked up slowly. You're the lady who makes breakfast. A chill danced up her spine. No, I'm your mom. He frowned faintly. I had a mom before. She smelled like cookies. I am her, she said, her voice breaking. He blinked once. No, you don't smell like anything. Elena stood, her legs suddenly weak. She walked into the hallway, needing space, oxygen, sense. On the wall hung a row of drawings Alicia had made. Figures in crayon, bright and messy. She counted the figures. One child, one man, no woman. The figure that used to be her, drawn in pink, always with curly hair, was missing from every picture. Her hand trembled as she touched the paper. The crayon hadn't been rubbed off. It looked like she had never been there to begin with. Behind her, a soft voice said, You're not supposed to be here anymore. She turned. Elisha stood at the end of the hall, watching her, and he wasn't smiling. Elena backed away from her son, her breath catching in her throat. What did you just say? She asked, her voice barely audible. Elisha tilted his head, as if confused by the question. I said, You're not supposed to be here anymore. He turned and calmly walked back into the living room, as if nothing had happened. Elena gripped the wall for support. Her mind raced. Was he sick? Was she? Was this a breakdown? She needed answers. She needed to leave the house, to clear her head, to speak to someone, anyone who knew her. She grabbed her phone and opened her contacts list. Dozens of familiar names. She tapped on her best friend's number, Marissa, and waited. Hello? Came the voice on the other end. Marissa, it's me, Elena. A pause. Too long. I'm sorry, who is this? Elena swallowed. It's Elena. We've known each other for 10 years. We went to college together. You were Elisha's godmother. Another silence. I think you have the wrong number, Marissa said quietly and hung up. Elena stared at the screen. Her thumb hovered over another name. Mom. She called. It rang once, then went straight to voicemail. She tried again. Voicemail. Again. Nothing. She stood in the middle of the hallway, surrounded by her life. But now it felt like a stage set, built from memory and slowly being deconstructed. Suddenly, she heard a creak from above. From the attic. They never used the attic. She barely remembered there even being one. With shaking hands, Elena climbed the folding stairs and pulled herself up into the dusty space. It was dark, still, airless. Boxes lined the far wall, labeled in her handwriting. She moved past them until she saw a mirror leaned against the far corner, half covered by a sheet. She pulled the cloth back. In the reflection, the attic stretched behind her, but she wasn't there. Elena stared into the mirror, unblinking. The attic reflected perfectly. The boxes, the beam overhead, the pale light leaking to the crack in the ceiling. But her body, her presence, was gone from the glass. No face, no silhouette, just empty air where she stood. She lifted her hand and waved. The mirror didn't move. Her breath quickened. She turned away and stumbled back toward the attic stairs, heart pounding. Every step down felt heavier than the last. When she emerged into the hallway, the light was different, dimmer, as if it was late afternoon already, though she had only been gone minutes. Elisha? She called, her voice strained. No answer. She moved through the house, room by room. He was gone. The living room, empty. His room, bed untouched. The kitchen, no dishes, no sign of oatmeal or breakfast. She paused by the refrigerator and noticed something strange. Dozens of magnets and papers had always decorated the fridge. Scribbles, drawings, school notices. Now it was bare, completely silver, polished, like no child had ever lived there. Elena walked to the family album again, flipping through frantically, page after page vacant. No wedding photos, no baby pictures, no Christmas. It was like someone had reached into the timeline of her life and erased her with careful, deliberate hands. She ran to the front door, flung it open, and outside stood a version of her husband, Daniel. But his face was wrong, just slightly, too smooth. His expression was hollow, like an actor waiting for lines. Elena, he asked flatly. She stepped back. Where's Alicia? She whispered. Daniel smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Alicia is safe, he said. You were never part of this. But it's okay. You're not in pain. That's what matters. Behind him, the world was still, not silent, but paused. A static hum buzzed in the air, like a screen frozen on a single frame. Elena's voice shook. What is this? Daniel took a step forward. A correction, he said. The front door began to close by itself, and she felt her body begin to fade. Not painfully, not with fear, but with the same numb absence as a forgotten name. By the time the latch clicked shut, she was gone, and in the house, everything was quiet again, as if she had never existed at all.